place that I consider family. As he said, I'm
Sorry about
Rhonda
that.
Wood.
I didn't
I'm
know this was
honored
gonna
to be
happen.
one of your Supreme Court justices, and I'm running to be your next Chief Justice of the Arkansas Supreme Court. For those of you that don't know me, and luckily a lot of you I consider family, but I grew up with a family that we were God-fearing. The two most important things in our family was God and Ronald Reagan. And if that tells you anything. I grew up, for some of you have probably heard this before, but I grew up without a television in our home. Our family wanted to raise a family of readers. And if we were bored, they would say, go read the Bible. So I read it by 5th grade. The first time that we rented a television was in 1980, and so this will tell you the age. I was in 5th grade, and that was so we could watch the election results when Ronald Reagan beat Jimmy Carter. My first campaign was actually...
We'll talk about that later in a bit, Ray.
And when the Bush quail, and I went to Cincinnati, Ohio to work on and help that race. So my conservative roots go long and are true. And in this race, you have 3 candidates. All of us are on the Supreme Court. All of us are justices. All of us will still be on the Supreme Court at the end of this race. Wonderful. But this is a choice for you about leadership, and I think the choice is clear on who has the judicial leadership experience. I was blessed by our current governor's dad, gave me the opportunity to serve on the trial court and appointed me in 2006. And then I took that ball and I ran. And I ran for justice, a judge, as a conservative. In the time of Blue and the time of BB, and nobody was willing to run and say, I'm a conservative and I'm running and I'm going to support the Constitution and the separation of powers, but that's what I did. And I ran as a conservative, and I ran 5 times. I served 6 years on the trial court, 2 on the Court of Appeals, and 9 as your Supreme Court justice. I was the first to open the door to the conservatives on the Arkansas Supreme Court. And I made room then for opening that pathway and showing how to get the Sean Womack and Barbara Webb elected. And then now the governor made this brilliant appointment in Cody Highland. So now that we have the 4 on the Supreme Court, I'm asking you as the most experienced conservative justice to you let me lead that court. And the experience that I have, no one has that experience. I led the judiciary and led juvenile justice reform for 14 years in the state. I led the child welfare reform in the judiciary. I've led the automation reform in the judiciary. I took over because of my experience as an assistant dean and law professor. I led the education reform in the judiciary. I led countless and countless committees. Over 10 committees I've chaired. I went down to the General Assembly and talked and worked with them to create the first juvenile drug courts in the state of Arkansas. And I ran that drug court in 2008 in Faulkner County. So I have proven that I can work with our stakeholders, I can work with our governor, and I'm ready to lead, and I have a vision for this court. And what I do on the bench as a justice will not change. I will follow the law, follow the Constitution as my guide, and continue to believe in separation of powers and stick to my role as a judge. But I think it's clear when you're choosing who is going to lead the judiciary, who has that leadership ability, who has that proven track record as a justice, that I'm ready and willing to do that. And so I think that choice is clear for you. And so I'm asking for your vote in March, and that you'll vote for me, Rhonda Wood, as Chief Justice. And then I can't leave without saying thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for, regardless of how anything turns out, you guys have been there for me for 17 years, through 5 elections, now the 6th election. So I just am humbled by that support for all these years, so thank you for that.